Hey there, welcome to Creating Social Media That Sells. Today we're going to be talking about how to really structure your social media pages to drive clients to your door, but we're not going to talk about the basics about putting a picture up or anything like that. We're going to talk about some proven methods that have worked for me and worked for a lot of other people, but we're also going to talk about some lesser known methods that the actual platforms don't tell you about. In some cases, they're not really wild on you using them, but they are tremendously effective. The ones we are going to cover today are Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Now, there are others like Snapchat and Pinterest that have very specific audiences, and some of them are pretty new. But the three most powerful ones to use, especially to target a very specific set of clients, are rather Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And at the end, we're also going to cover how to use a video to look like a rock star. And this is if you have no equipment, if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't have any technical expertise or anything. I'm going to show you the things that I've learned that either cost nothing or next to nothing, where you can look like you have an expensive studio with expensive equipment, and people they're just not going to know the difference. So today we're going to start with Facebook. Now, Facebook is great for a number of reasons. One is they are incredible at targeting. So, for example, if you're looking at a particular city, let's say it's San Diego or St. Louis or Miami, they can do that. But they can even target by neighborhood, by zip code, by where you're at, even just a perimeter from where you exactly are. So if you have an actual location and you want people to actually drive, get them to drive to your location and walk in the door, Facebook is awesome. It also is excellent at demographics, so you can identify how much money people make, what they do, if they've had any life changes. I mean, really, there's pretty much, if you can name it, they can do it. But you may or may not be aware of that. Today I'm going to show you some things that I do on my Facebook page that are awesome. And I'll show you some of the pitfalls of Facebook, but also ways to actually get around them. Now, when you set up your Facebook page, if you don't have a personal page, go ahead and set that up. And I will actually load a new tab here. So that's my... Go back here. Yeah, that's my sister and her boyfriend. So, welcome to my family. But when you get your page set up, basically you're gonna have a regular page. There's me on the boat. You can go ahead and get that set up. If you want to set up a business one, basically you go over to this little arrow next to the lock icon, and you can create a page and go through the whole process. But I'll let you go through that when time comes. But basically, you get the page set up, and one of the things that I did here, instead of just doing a picture, a lot of people do a picture, I want every single bit of real estate to work for me. And the higher it is on the page, the more important it is. As you go down, it becomes a little less important. And then one of the things we're going to cover here is what we call the fold. And this is basically the bottom of the page. So most people, they're just going to look at your page and they're not going to scroll down. So you really need to make sure that this real estate that we see right here is doing the work for you. But specifically, the higher it is, the most important it is. So when they give you an opportunity to put a banner up here, you better know that I'm going to be using it. And I'm not going to put a picture of San Diego. I'm not going to put a picture of even me necessarily, but I really want to get across a couple things. Number one, if you have a logo for what you're doing, I know a lot of insurance agents are probably thinking, a logo, what do you mean? Well, just because you're an insurance agent doesn't mean you can't have a brand. And in fact, if you do not have a brand, you're really harming yourself, to be honest, because there's a lot of business that you could be having. So I'll give you an example here in San Diego, and I'll just do a search on this, but you just do San Diego lawyer in blue jeans. And yes, that's how this guy is known. I don't even know his real name. So the lawyer in blue jeans group, right? You'd think, okay, this is an attorney. But it goes right to the guy's Yelp page, and that's what he's known for, the lawyer in blue jeans. He doesn't wear a suit. He wears blue jeans. Even when he wears a jacket, he is wearing blue jeans. But he definitely brands himself. His blue jeans are his branding. So let's see if we go to their website. And I haven't been to their website before, so we'll see here first off. But anyway, what you'll see here is the guy actually, this is how he brands it. It's with denim, right? Okay, his name is Jeff Isaac, which I think I knew that before, but I didn't know now. But this is his branding. The guy's a lawyer, and yet he just doesn't say, "Hi, I'm Jeff Isaac, Esquire." He comes across a lot differently, differently. So when you have real estate up here, it's really important that you use it. And so for me, I have my logo up here. I have the fact that, look, I've been on all 4 news networks. So I want people to know that. I want people to know when they come to my page, I'm not just this startup guy who doesn't know what he's doing, who's unproven, but rather, look, I've been vetted. I've been on places that are very, very difficult to get featured in. And at the end, I have a limited short space here to communicate what I'm saying. And so pretty much if you come to my page and you see this, quit paying your dues, pay yourself instead. This is targeting a very specific audience. There are people that are insurance agents who are told, and they follow suit, that you need to pay your dues before you're going to really find that level of success. Well, I just don't believe that. I have a major problem with that. There's no reason in the world why you should be struggling or not making the money you want. The only thing you have to learn is how to do it. So, I want people to know when they come to my page, look, if you're paying your dues, I can help you pay yourself instead. And that helps people stay on my page. Generally, you have about 5 seconds that somebody looks at your page, maybe 10 if it's a good day for them, that they decide if they're going to stay there or not. And so I think that's really, really important what you do here. If you struggle with being stereotyped as an insurance agent, this is where the branding comes in really, really well. So some people might put, not a boring insurance agent, or, I am, the protector of neighborhoods, really whatever you want to put on there, but you really want to have an opportunity. This is where you're going to get to frame people's opinion of you. And in the event that you have a threat of being stereotyped, which I think is a very reasonable belief, then this is your ability to destroy this stereotype. And if you do not destroy the stereotype here, then that stereotype will not only carry down, but it will be confirmed in everything that you're doing. So as you page down, obviously there's things you can do. You can post, you can post something on here and you go, I am posting to Facebook, right? This is the thing though, is let's say you have 100 people on here, right? And you hit publish, it's going to go to about 2 people. It's going to go to 2 people. I mean, it used to be that you published it and anybody that liked your page would get what you published, which, honestly makes a lot of sense. If you add somebody to your friend as a friend on your personal page and you type something, it's going to show up in their timeline. So, but the problem is that isn't the case, right? I mean, let's see. These ones are ones that I actually, so these ones could be sent to a lot more people, but only 369 people did it get to. 273 people. So one person reached. Wow. Like that's, when you put something on here at Facebook wants you to advertise. They want you to spend money here. And what they're going to do is they're going to restrict your post reach. So instead of saying, okay, I can publish it and it's going to go to 3 people or 10 people, or I can hit boost post and it'll go to more people, right? Boost your post to reach more people, but you're going to pay for that. So it's kind of like getting protection money from the mob. They're kind of they're the cause of the problem and they are the solution. So one of the things you can do to get around that, and this is awesome, is you can go into, let's go to my personal one, and you can go into groups, right? So if you go into here, a lot of the groups, these are just suggestions you'll have in here. But let's go to my page and see if I forget how to look this up. Let's see. I think it's on here. Oh, no. You know where it is? So if you go to, let's do this because I have a second. Oop, let's do this. Let's log this out. I have the groups under a different account. Okay, so if you go to groups, let's pick this one out here. All right, where is the group? Okay, well, either way, I sometimes they change the navigation on here, but so this is a group that I literally just started, and it's for people who are members of a specific community within Negotiators Playbook. So when you create a group, one of the things that happens is if you sent this to a group, I am sending this to a group, if I can type. Okay, it's going to go to all 15 members. It's going to go to all of them. So if you go to any one of these, right? Any one of these groups, Funnel Genius, the Ultimate Sales. Let's see. This is my friend Donald Kelly's group, right? It's a closed group. If I write something in here, it's going to go to the entire group. And, he posts on here a ton. If you go into here, because he knows that, look, if he gets 1,000 people in this group, it's going to go to 1,000 people. And that's tremendous because a lot of people think, okay, well, I just have to advertise on Facebook. But the thing is, you don't. You absolutely don't need to do that. So, but the idea is you can actually, create a group that's an affinity group. So it could be, you can go in here and click on Create Group. Connect and share, get things done, buy and sell. So you might pick this one out. Name your group. It could be New Insurance Agents in San Diego, right? Even though I didn't capitalize the S, whatever. Add some people. Just, you can add one person or add nobody. You can have it be a closed group, a public group, which means anybody can join. Closed group meaning it'll be published, but you have to request to join, or it can be a secret group, meaning that it doesn't even show up on Facebook and it's that private. So the Top Producers Paradise that I had here is a secret group, meaning you can't even find it. You have to I have to tell you about it because you have to be a member of the community that we have here. So the other thing that you can do is, let me go back to this, is there's apps that you have. So let's say somebody is going in here and looking at my page. There'll be a banner across it. Let's see if we can do it this way. Yeah, it's tabs. So you're going to have tabs that basically will go across your page here. So let's see, so when somebody goes to my page, there'll be a tab that says free scripts for better networking results, free newsletter sign up, videos, posts, etc. So I can actually put those on here. One of the things that I recommend is doing that. I mean, I think an email list for sure you want to have because you want to be able to not advertise, but you want to be able to connect with people and not have every setting be something where you're selling to them because it'll turn them off. If there's something free that you want to give them, you can put in the settings here. If you're doing events, which I highly recommend, you can click on there. And so there's a number of different things that you can do. But my favorite thing on Facebook by far is the groups. And most people just think, okay, I have to join somebody else's group. Not so. I mean, you can start your own group. That group that you joined, somebody else started that group at some point in time. The only thing you need to do is drive people to it. And so a lot of times it's word of mouth. You can put on your business card on the back of it, hey, take a minute and join my Facebook group, and then, give them a link to click on or a QR code and they'll go into, and they can go ahead and sign up that way. So, that's really one of the great benefits of Facebook, in the fact that if you start a business page, and you really want to make sure that it reaches people, you hit publish and it's going to go to usually about 2% of the people out there because Facebook really wants you to hit boost post, right? And if you hit boost post, I'll just show you an example. You can choose people through targeting, a number of different saved targeting groups that I have here. You can pick a budget. It'll tell you how many people are reached. So let's say I put $3. It's going to reach a couple hundred people. If I put $30, it's going to reach between 3,000 and 8,000 people. And you could spend that budget over a number of different days. So, I mean, that's definitely one way to do it, and it is better. Facebook does a really good job of that. But if you have a group, then you don't have to do that. And it's an already targeted group. It's something that people have joined already. They want to read, so they're automatically going to be more inclined to read what you write than anything else. And plus, people love community. And so if you're in a group and you're consistently posting things to that group, they're going to consistently check it every so often, which is going to increase the reach that you get. Now let's talk about Twitter. Twitter is what I like to call, it's like the ADD social app, right? The social network. So you go to Twitter, and for example, ever since I put this up, I have 519 new tweets, right? So, basically, if you're staying up there, if you're up here, every so often you'll see this. It'll be a new tweet, a new tweet, a new tweet, and this thing generally will move down over and over and over. And so the thing about Twitter, though, is that you're limited to 140 characters. So you have to be very, very concise in what you do. And so some people are just super concise. Some people will use some people will use UR or the letter 4, what have you, just to be able to get around that. So, but I think with Twitter, there's some unique things that you can use from a business standpoint that really are able to help you out. And it really depends on kind of what your goal is at that point. So for those who are new to Twitter, there's basically two types of things that are included in here that you want to look up. And this is great, especially when there's something current going on that you want people to really be able to pay attention to. One is called an at mention and one is called a hashtag. Now, an at mention is what you see here. It's basically their handle. So this guy, Ryan Shreve, his at mention is at Ryan_Shreve. So if I were to type something in here and I just said, okay, I'm going to type, let's see, let's go back. That's his profile. It's got a good profile, by the way. But if I were to type in at Ryan_Shreve, or my friend Ryan Lashley, and I just type in, hey Ryan, what's up, or whatever, and I send it, it's basically like an email. It's going to pop up on his Twitter. He's going to get a notification on his phone that I sent him something. So it would be much different if I took this out and I just put Ryan Lashley, Ryan, what's up? He won't get this. It'll never show up. But if you put an at mention at Ryan Lashley, then he will get it in his timeline. Now, one of the reasons this is important is this is where you can come across as a thought leader. So typically, if you're reading somebody who puts a post in here, and let's say you look at this one, at Jordan Ronaldo, how to get prospects to open, read, and respond to your sales emails. Then if you read this, for example, then you can actually reply back, which is that button right there, and it automatically puts his name in there. And what happens is you have to make sure that you're putting good content in. So sometimes you might just say, hey, great article, but that doesn't really usually get it. A lot of times kind of a compliment critique is what I call it, will typically get it. You'll say, love the article, but I think it missed blah, blah, blah. If he likes it, one of the things that he's going to do when this pops up in his timeline, first of all, it's going to pop up as his timeline. He's going to either retweet your response or hit a heart. Now, the heart doesn't do you a whole lot of good. It's more for Twitter side of things. But if you hit a retweet, then what it does, you can add a comment here and put it in there. He's going to get a note that it was retweeted. He might retweet yours. You never know. But depending on how many people that he has following him, and we'll just take a look at him real quick, this is where it might be worth it. So this guy has 29,000 people following him, right? So if he retweets this, if you write him something and he retweets it, it's going to 29,000 people, which is huge. So, but this is one where you kind of are getting the individual person to open the gateway. So in a sense, it's like knocking on somebody's door and getting an introduction from one person to the other, except when you say, hey, can you introduce me to your friend? You're getting introduced to one person. When you have this happen, you would have him basically introduce you to 29,000 people. And it's huge. And especially, realistically, the bigger the following they have, the more likely you're going to have that. So let's look at Orlando Azugaray. So this guy has 113,000 followers. So, and this guy lives in Miami, I can tell. If you're able to get him to retweet it, it's going to go to 113,000 people. And there are very few places on this earth that you can get 113,000 people to have something that you write be put in their inbox. And typically when you do that, you're going to get a lot more people following you, which when you decide to just write something here, it's going to pop in their inbox anyway. So it's absolutely awesome. Now the next thing on here is a hashtag. Now the hashtag, basically is one of the things. Let's go find a hashtag on here. Okay, so on here, Eleanor Stutz, writes out, always clarify uncertainty. Clients appreciate being heard. Here's an article, and hashtag success in sales. Now, there's two things that a hashtag does. Number one, it gives perspective on what's being said with, since you only have 140 characters, you don't have to write it out. Hey, this is about success in sales. You can literally put it in there and tell, okay, this article is going to be about success and sales. As we go down, this one put hashtag ULA. I'm not really sure what that is. And you can see people here, by the way, at mentioning certain things because they want them to be involved in the conversation. Let's see. A good hit back for following my tweets. Again, this person, Lisa Bamba, has 8,000 followers, so that's definitely the type of compliment that you want to be getting. People I guarantee you there's going to be a bunch of people more of her followers that are going to jump and follow you as well. Let's take a look and see if we can find some more hashtags on here. Okay, perfect. I see a new way to tap into ultra-targeted traffic. Click here, and it has to do with network marketing, MLM, and entrepreneurs. So if I'm not into network marketing or MLM, I'm not going to click on it. And in a sense, she's eliminating me automatically by herself, and she's just narrowing down her target. But if I am into network marketing, I know for a fact that this link is going to directly have to do with me, and I'm going to be more likely to click on it. So she's really driving in targeted traffic just by putting these hashtags in. Now, the other thing that hashtags do, and this is where a lot of people do it when there's news going on, but if you click on the actual hashtag, then it will give you a stream of everybody that used that hashtag and what it had to do with that. So, Cities for Climate. Let's see what else we got here. Success in sales, so to one we dealt with before. Let's just stream down. Let's stream down here. Success, Financial prospecting. So every time you go into here, let's say you go into sales, which will probably have one, pretty recently, 12 minutes ago, it'll have everything to do with sales. So you can literally pick a hashtag, money, business, sales, selling, all these things on here, and it's going to show you everything that has that. So what you want to do is you want to be able to identify kind of, look up terms and find out the ones that are most talked about. And typically, you don't need to find any specific tracking measurement, but you can look at the amount of time it's been since something's put on here. So 12 minutes was the last time something was put on here. Oh, and then if you want to hit view all, because it only puts what they think are the most important. I'm sorry, those are the accounts for those guys. But 12 minutes, then 18 hours, 3 minutes, 1 hour, 3 hours. You kind of get a sense on how often this is being used. So if you type in a hashtag and the last one was a week ago, then that probably isn't going to be seen by a whole lot of people. So, but if you're looking at branding, for example, then 43 minutes ago, 12 hours, 11 hours, 20 hours, 19 minutes, 20 minutes, 28 minutes. So this is really kind of where it starts right here. And these are probably promoted tweets right there. Typically, that's where you're gonna get it. Now, when it comes to Twitter, we talked about the fact that Facebook is very targeted, and you can narrow down to anything. I mean, geography, what their likes are, do they spend money on a credit card, did they just get married, did they start a new job, do they have kids, do they watch football, any number of things. And Facebook is typically very efficient at that. Twitter, on the other hand, and this is just my personal opinion, is not. I think it's a money hole. I tried advertising on there, and I didn't get any results on it. And part of it is that it's really tough to pick it out. Like you might be able to try to target a little bit, but you can't narrow it down very much at all. And I think that's one of the things where Twitter is struggling as a public company and trying to generate revenue, is that the advertisers typically aren't seeing a return on their investment. So I would be extremely, extremely careful before putting any money in Twitter and advertising. But as a free platform, it's absolutely awesome. I mean, you can basically use app mentions to get other people who typically are thought leaders influencers in the conversation. And if they like what you put, then they're going to typically retweet it to their followers. And I'm telling you, every time that happens, the bigger the following they have, I consistently get more people following me. And it just snowballs and snowballs. But you have to put on good content. If you're just putting something in there trying to hook somebody, they're going to see that. They're not dumb. And you're just going to be wasting your time. But if you can add value to a conversation and involve somebody who's a thought leader and an influencer, it builds tremendous credibility. And at the same time, the hashtags are really designed for two reasons. Number one, you can search and find anything on that particular hashtag, and really be able to identify things for your consumption. But it really helps self-filter things out. So if you want people to know, if you want to really target down a niche and just say, San Diego health insurance or whatever, and you say like 5 mistakes, the biggest mistakes that people make when they buy insurance, San Diego insurance, and then maybe one's epic fail or whatever, then people who are in San Diego, or people who are looking for insurance in San Diego, are going to see that, and they're going to be more likely to click on it. And so you're really targeting where you're at, and the people that aren't, that really don't want the content or aren't interested, they're just not even going to waste their time. So you're actually doing them kind of a favor. So even though they don't click on your link, I think what you're doing is setting a good brand for yourself. Now, I'm going to tell you about 2 things that Twitter never tells you about that I use on mine to really make Twitter work for me. And there's actually a third that I'm going to be starting pretty soon. The first one is called Future Tweets. So when we go in here, futuretweets.com, a lot of times people say, well, I don't want to be sitting in front of a computer all day, tweeting. I have stuff to do. Well, it's just fine. I totally get that. What Future Tweets does is it basically automates your tweets for you. So you basically can go in and basically create a tweet that you can schedule. So let's say that you are doing an event on a certain day. You can basically put in a tweet we'll type something in here, event announced, and you could put that on a Monday and literally put it in the exact time, right? And hit schedule, and they're going to go ahead and do that. And then the next day, you say, hey, or 4 hours later, even whatever it is, hey, for those who didn't get this before, boom, 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 boom. And so you can basically schedule a campaign in a sense, which is what I did last year to get people to drive traffic. And so I don't have to be at my desk or wherever I'm at, but I can get these things scheduled ahead of time. So I can think what I want to say, and I can have it basically scheduled while I'm sleeping or driving or at the beach or wherever you're at. And it makes life super easy. And guess how much this costs? Well, if you guessed 0, then you're right. If you guessed $1, then you guessed $1 too much, because this doesn't cost a nickel. And I can tell you right now, just from getting feedback from future tweets, Twitter doesn't like this. They want you to be on their website. They want you to be on Twitter reading and generating traffic for their website. But when you're on here, they just don't like it. And so Future Tweets has been really trying to do as much of a workaround on Twitter as you can get, but they've been absolutely phenomenal on what they do. So I highly recommend going in and setting up an account for Future Tweets. Now, the best one that I have, and this one is just awesome. I just can't believe how ridiculously cool this is. This is a website called Status Brew. And you're thinking, okay, well, that has nothing to do with Twitter. Even when you go here, I don't know that they have the greatest thing on here because they don't really tell you, but unlocking the power of social networks. But I will tell you this. When you go to, that's right, that was the request not found. When you go in and let's log in. Okay, so this authorizes through Twitter. One of the things that you can do, and this is just the genius of Status Brew, is that you can set up automated responses, right? So let's take a look here. All right, so we'll wait for this to load. So a couple things. Number one, it'll tell you, this is where it gives you great feedback. It'll give you all the people that you're following who are not following you back, right? So let's say we decide, okay, we're going to open that up, and you can decide if you want to unfollow them. You also know who they are. You could shoot this is my friend Dennis. I don't know why he is not following me back. Better get him on here. But it tells me, oh, this person, my friend Craig, I can kind of goad them a little bit and say, hey, I'm following you back. You guys aren't following me. What's up with that? And it'll do that. It'll give you the number of people who you're following and they're following you back. So, which is really great. It'll give you fans, which are basically people who just love what you're doing and they're your raving fans. It'll give you people who are new unfollowers, so people that have just unfollowed you. So you can basically send these people a message and saying, hey, I'm sorry to see you go. Hey, I have some really cool stuff coming up on Twitter. Follow me back just to make sure you can see it, and you can get those people back. These are people that are new followers. Hey, thanks so much. You can come back. Hey, listen, as you know, I have a deal for the people that are new followers for mine. And that way these go to just these people and not everybody else. We talked about app mentions. So these are the times, anytime you use an app mention towards somebody, it'll track it and it'll show you exactly kind of what happened with that. Let's take a look here. I haven't used Power Search yet. All right, so let's take a look here. All right, it'll show you everybody that you're following, everybody who you're following who's inactive. So you can probably unfollow them if you want to. It identifies fake followers. I'm following fake people. And you got to be careful because I know this guy for a fact. This guy's my videographer, or one of them, my old videographer. And so I know he's not fake. He just hasn't set his picture up, and that's probably what triggers it out. He probably hasn't really used it. This one is an old networking group. That's why it's inactive. They think it's fake. This one, I'm not really sure, but the fact that guy has a picture, I'm thinking, okay, it probably isn't fake. But anyway, you can go in there, and if there are generally fake ones in there, you can unfollow them. These are people with no profile images, so you can kind of tease them out. It's my cousin Mark. This is my friend Dennis. This guy has a podcast, and he probably doesn't use social media that much. He has like a tremendous following, but he doesn't use Twitter. I mean, you think, okay, he's following one person, he has 9 followers. This guy has such an audience, it's ridiculous. So if I wanted to tease him, I could basically click on there and, basically just say, this is, you got to get going on this because you're missing out, buddy. Let's see, everybody that's following you. These are active people that are following you, people that are active on Twitter. So you know that if you're sending something to this person, they're on Twitter a lot. These are people that are more likely to follow you. This guy's 51,000 followers, 63,000 followers, 27, 3,000, 8,000, 5,000. There's my friend Dennis. So it looked like the other one that I was telling you was probably his old profile. So yeah, he has, huge following, even more than what he has on Twitter. But anyway, you can decide who you really want to @mention. So if you really want to get a retweet from one of these, I'm probably more likely to, not that I wouldn't want to get it from Mr. Goodnight or Jide or whatever it is, but I'm going to look for the people with 63,000 followers. If I can find something to get him, especially with a guy that's a verified user, if I can get him to retweet one of mine, it's going to put tremendous publicity and get people to my website. And if they are local, especially if you're looking for, this guy's in San Diego, if I want to drive some other San Diego people to my website and get them to ask me about insurance, then this is the guy who I really want to get started with. Look at tags. I haven't created any tags. That's just a way to sort tweets and things like that. People you blocked, people you muted, which you can mute people, which is awesome. You can whitelist people just to make sure their tweets come in. These are the people that you really, really want to see. This is kind of the opposite of that Facebook thing. Remember I told you where you get like 2% of the people you get reached. These people whitelist you, and so it basically makes sure that whatever you post shows up on, whatever they post shows up on your profile. Pending request, relationship check, etc. Now, automation is where this thing really, really gets going. So one of the things that I do is whenever somebody follows me on Twitter, one of the things that I do is I immediately put in, and they have some fields here, so you can see that I just put first name, and I'll just capitalize that. Every time they follow me, they're going to get a tweet right back immediately saying, "Thanks so much for the follow. As a thank you for joining the Insurance Top Producers Movement, I want to invite you to a limited time exclusive masterclass that will show you 4 powerful strategies to help you make money at networking events. Click here to register." And guess what? Everybody that follows me immediately gets an invitation to a webinar. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, they took a positive step to connect with me, and the first thing that I'm going to be doing is offering them some killer stuff in this free webinar that they're going to be able to get. And I get to personalize it. So it's not, "Hey, thanks so much," as a generic, but if there's somebody here named Gary, it'll say, "Gary, thanks." In fact, that's really what I should just need a comma. "Thanks so much for the follow, blah, blah, blah." And it will go on there. So, and I'm sorry, that's a direct message. So this is actually going to be in their message box. So you don't have to be limited to 140 characters on this. You actually, I think, have 10,000 characters. So it's a tremendous thing to do. Everybody that engages with me, I immediately engage them back, and I want to give them something free. So, and it helps them fully understand me a little bit more. And, once they know that they get something amazing from me, then, our relationship gets off to a great start. Now, when somebody follows me, this is where it's automatically send welcome tweet to new followers. This is what I just put in for public display. Kudos to, and it's basically it'll pick 5 people at a time to for joining, and I had to put 4 here because I'm limited by characters, for joining the Insurance Top Producers movement. Follow them now. No brainer. And so what I'm trying to do is basically put it out there that these people are thought leaders. These people are rock stars. And so every time this shows up in somebody else's timeline, well, first of all, when they see this, I'm telling you, I get @mentions all the time. Those 5 people will @mention me and retweet it because they like it, right? But every time that somebody sees this in the timeline, they're like, "Ooh, wow, that's cool." They're getting endorsed by somebody even better, and the people are going to go ahead and follow them. And I could put a lot more. I could put 15, but I don't want to inundate it. I think 5 is a nice small group. It makes it feel like there's exclusivity, and it looks absolutely awesome. So, and if you want to click here as an example, this is kind of what it would look like. Hey, blah, blah, blah. Have you had a chance to do this? If it's users, these 5, you remember if we told you there's 5 people on here, boom, 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 boom. Thanks for connecting. So when I do it on mine, it basically says kudos to Bill, John, Phil, Randy, and Beth, whatever, for joining this movement. Follow them now. So my whole thing is I want to add value to their Twitter account, and it usually comes back as well. So this is what's awesome. When you get in the fact that you can automate this, and guess how much this costs? Well, if you guessed $1, you guessed $1 too much, because this is absolutely 100% free. It is my favorite Twitter tool on here, and you'll never be able to do this on Twitter. Basically, if you try to do this on Twitter, you'd have to do it live, and you'd have to create every tweet yourself. But this one automates everything and does it for you. So again, Twitter it's a little bit of a beast because there's not a lot of, you have to really take advantage of the time that you're given because it just moves so quickly. But if you can get the automation down, if you can get it very quickly and get, the exact thing that you want, the result that you want done and programmed into it, literally, then it can be one of the best. It can be one of the best tools you can have, especially when there's things like an election or a football game or something like that, where people are on Twitter following it. It's just awesome. All right, so let's move on to LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn is kind of the opposite of Twitter, where Twitter is like 5 seconds ago, basically, and it moves so quickly. LinkedIn is the opposite. There's people that check in LinkedIn every day, but then for the most part, a lot of people use LinkedIn either to look for a job or what have you, but they don't necessarily look in every day. It's probably every 3 or 4 days or every couple weeks. So it takes a little bit more time, and a lot of times you can't necessarily expect promptness when you're doing something. So if you have this really urgent last second thing that you're trying to promote, it might be a little bit tougher on LinkedIn. And I learned this the hard way because I put in this blog post about the Super Bowl one year, and I got somebody read it like 3 months later, and I'm like, that tells you how long it's been since that person hasn't even checked into LinkedIn. So, but on the other hand, it's awesome because it can be extremely targeted. In my instance, I'm really promoting my services and my expertise and my wisdom and the things that I give away to insurance agents. So I can target insurance agents really, really easily. And since on your profile, we'll go to my profile here. Since on your profile, it actually tells you when and we're gonna go back to this in a little bit, so don't worry about any of this. When you go on here, it'll tell you exactly when you started your job. I can target people based on how new they are at their job. So if they just started out as an insurance agent in the last year or two, then that's kind of the person that I want to talk to. And I can actually target them with the advertising. And so with the advertising, and this goes for Facebook as well, because we didn't really cover this in Facebook, but you have a choice between putting an ad and you have what they call a sponsored post, right? So an advertisement is, let's say I go to my homepage, and I'm not sure if the ad's going to show up. Okay, so this would be an ad. It shows up to the right. Well, the sponsored post would be something like this. I mean, you can put something in here. It looks totally native, totally organic, and you really can't tell the difference between one versus the other. See where it says sponsored? It's a very small, I don't know that this really tells you much about it, but I mean, how cool would it be if this was your ad? And the thing is, you don't have to just use text like these people do in a web link. You can use video like these do. And I know Mark. Mark is an absolute genius when it comes to doing these type of things. But if you can basically have, a video come up that's really, really engaging like this and get people's attention, it's just awesome. It's awesome. And it gets, like I said, the engagement level that you're going to have is through the roof. And on Facebook, it's the same thing. We'll go back to that. You can basically either put in a sponsored post, which I like, something like this, where it's a part of their stream and it just kind of pops in, or you can put an ad at the same time. I typically see the sponsored posts work better because they're more in the flow of what people are going on Facebook to look at your news feed. And the more that people are looking at the newsfeed, the more you want to be on that newsfeed. So if I'm going on LinkedIn, I'm going to be looking for something like this, right? I don't know that I'm going to be looking at here. It still works to a degree, but I think this works a little better. Now, the one great thing about LinkedIn is when you do advertising on LinkedIn, you only pay per click. So if nobody clicks on your ad and it just is terrible, there's such a great runway. You're having a parachute on, because you're not going to pay a nickel for it. Now, you can go in and look and say, wow, nobody clicked on my ad. Okay, well, let's go ahead and change it. And so basically, every time somebody clicks on your ad, I think it's like $2 or no, $5 or whatever it is, but or whatever the bidding that you have on it. But it definitely is really, really good for that. So when you set up your LinkedIn profile, and this is a really big key, a lot of people make the mistake of just thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to fill in things as they're there, and I'm going to take LinkedIn's default template and just plug stuff in. But the problem is that doesn't work. Again, we want to talk about the same thing we talked about the Facebook thing. This is your fold at the very bottom. People generally aren't going to go past that fold unless you give them a compelling reason to do so. And so the most important things on here are going to be at the top, and as you go down, they're a little bit less important, a little bit less important. And so, for example, I could have put a background photo on here. So if we're looking at the page, like I did have a page, on my Facebook page where I put it right here because it's an unobstructed front row seat to where I want to put it. But on LinkedIn, this block right here is taking up my real estate, so I really didn't feel a need to put a background photo that in essence was only going to be shown right here. So I made the choice, less is more a lot of times, and so I just said I'm going to leave it alone, and it is less of a distraction to what I want to see here. So on here, I put my name, and then this is the headline. A lot of people, when you go, let's just say we'll go to see what some other people do. And I'm just going to pick some people at random. Pick Mark Young. Okay. Pick my friend Christy. We'll pick Christy. Christy's probably like, I hate that you're doing this. But that's what we're going to do here. And let's see who else we know here. Ron Gashler, I know him. And we'll go Sarah. All right. So if you look at Mark, basically he just puts it in here. He's in the UK. He runs the agency, so he's just going to put that on here, right? This person's a recruiter, so kind of that's what she's looking to do. Michaela, LinkedIn lover, published writer, social media and content marketing expert, which is great, okay? But there's something missing from there. We're going to cover that. Ron Gashler, talent acquisition development. So again, this guy is, if you're looking for a job, he doesn't really have to put much on there. He just has to put talent acquisition, and that's really all he needs to do. And Sarah, who's the owner at Equus Print. Now, I'm going to pick on Sarah a little bit, even though I love her to death. I'm going to pick on her just a little bit in a moment. So, so when we go to the profile. By the way, I still love that video. What you want to do is you want to be able to, this is your billboard, right? So when you drive down the street, we notice that there's billboards. And having been in advertising, they'd say one of the things that we would do, and we would actually do billboard drives where we drive down the street and see a billboard. You have to be able to read and get the entire message of the billboard across in 3 seconds. And if somebody's driving with all the distractions they have, if you can't do it, then we just wouldn't even consider the billboard. So on here, it's a chance for you to really make yourself known and get your point across. Now, I could have just put insurance sales coach, right? But that doesn't say a whole lot. I mean, that doesn't tell you what I'm about or how I'm different, or realistically, it's what's in it for me. How can I help you? How can this guy help me? And so on here, I just kind of put it right to the point. Quit paying your dues, pay yourself instead. I help underpaid new insurance agents quickly become top producers. So what does that say? Well, if you're sitting here as an insurance agent, you're struggling and you're trying to get new business and you're going on LinkedIn to identify people that you might want to reach out to, well, I'm the guy that's going to help you, streamline your business so you stop paying your dues and you start actually making more money. And it's as simple as that. This is my quick billboard. Quit paying your dues, pay yourself instead. I help underpaid insurance agents quickly become underpaid new insurance agents quickly become top producers. And I could have put sales training. I put management consulting, just the same thing pretty much. Now, again, we talked about the concept of this is the most important, and then it goes a little bit less important, a little bit less important. Now, this you don't have a control of. They're basically going to put in your city and your employment stuff from before. So, and we're going to cover that. That's going to be covered down. So this one doesn't really change ever for what you're doing. So the next time, in fact, we'll just do this. We'll just view profile as... All right, so this is basically how it's going to show to people, right? And there's your advertisements that people post when they see that, but it's off to the right. So the first thing that I'm going to do on here is above the fold is I want to have people let people know rather what I'm about. And in this instance, I have different published articles that I've done. So they see that on here. And when you do the article, we're going to cover those articles in a little bit. You get to actually pick your visual. In fact, let's just do that right now. Let's go to, let's see, where is this at here? Let's go to home. All right. And you can do a couple things. You can share an update, which basically is you get a certain amount of thing. And it's going to show as one paragraph. Not a big fan of that. It's okay. I'm generally not a big fan of that. You could put a hyperlink in there to kind of help with that. And they put a YouTube hyperlink. That's kind of where that came from. You can upload a photo, which helps as well. Or my favorite is you can write an article. This is awesome because you get to put in a headline, write the text, and put in a visual. And so in this instance, let me store all those tabs. There's no "Are you sure" on the red button, apparently. So we'll wait for that to load back up. All right, so on here, when you write, let's go back to this. Let's say, take back your power. So this one I basically did pick the visual that I thought was really awesome and compelling, put a headline in there, and then I basically get to write this really long article that comes across really smooth and have a call to action at the bottom. I mean, it's that awesome. And it gives you the ability to really come across as more of a thought leader and an influencer, which is very, very, very important. So let's go back to... and then if somebody wants to look at all my posts, they can put see more and see some of the more ones I'm doing. And then the next thing on here, once you're all about giving people stuff that matters to them. It's not about you. It's all about the person that's reading this. So this is about what can I do for the person reading it. This is about some more stuff so that if they're like, oh, really? He helps people get paid, and quit paying their dues. All right, cool. Well, let's see what he says. Number one worst thing you can do in sales: take back your power. Okay, cool. They read it. They like what they see. They come back. They go to my background. And this is just my quick, introduction to what I do. I'm an experienced and passionate leader, blah, blah, blah. These are the things I've done. These are the projects that I've done. This was back in my corporate world. And selected by the CEO. Top skills. These are the things that people basically recommend to endorse you for. So I have a lot of very kind things that people are saying on that. Publications. So these are the books that I've written. So you can put those in here. And if you haven't written an ebook yet or a hardcover book yet, you need to do that. It definitely helps out. And I actually have a friend that I can introduce you to who will help you make sure that book gets to be in a bestseller status, which is even better. I give the experience, different things that I've done, the endorsements off of that, and all those are fine. It'll give you volunteer experiences and causes, certifications, courses, all these type of things. Yes, I speak these other 4 languages. But realistically, most of it doesn't really matter as much. It's just, this is what I can do. This is my headline. In other words, why should I even stay on your page, Matt? Well, it's a great question. Here, first off the bat is the first thing that people look at. This is what the whole purpose of this is, to get them staying on my page. The next part is to give them something free. And one of the things that I'm going to be adding to this soon is, and I'm in the process of filming it, is a video. And this video is going to go right above here. Now, the thing you got to know about this when you're creating your profile, let's do edit profile, is you can move these things around. So I can literally, with that arrow, move it up or down. So if I want this summary to move up, I can do it. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be putting a video right here. So when somebody comes to my website, the first thing they're going to see is, this is what I'm doing, this is what I can help you do. And then the next thing you're going to see is a video where I get to introduce you, I get to expound upon it and earn your additional time on this page, and then give you additional freebies, things like that. I can put photos up here where it's, a banner where it just says, hey, register for a free webinar or get your free ebook. Remember, because we talked about the publications down here, right? We were looking at, so we're looking at where did I put the publications? New. Frontline leadership courses, languages, education, interests, personal details. Okay. All right. We'll get down to that in a second. Where is, the publications. Okay. So you can take these same publications and create an image or a visual for them and put these right up top here as a gallery saying, claim your free ebook, claim your free book, boom, boom, boom. And it's a free giveaway for the content that people want to have. So, the lower you go down, the less important it is. So you want to really put the things that you want people to take action on right smack dab in front of them. And as it goes down, there's things where, it actually kind of has more of your resume and things like that. And those things are all great. And it just gives them a little bit more delving. But by the time they get down here, it doesn't necessarily matter as much, unless you go to Miami, and then it matters a lot. And it'll tell you a little bit about that, how people can get in contact. So I put my email address in there, or my phone number. So additional organizations that I'm a part of and that type of thing. These are all the endorsements, the groups that I follow. So you get to learn more about me, who I think are influencers to me, and things like that. But realistically, with LinkedIn, you want to be using it, this very front side of it. You want to be, this is your headline. In other words, somebody's going to leave your page unless you make this compelling. So why should they not leave your page right away? That's what's important. And then after that, it's about freebies. What are you going to give me? So it could be a video. It could be claim your copy of this free ebook. It could be a blog posts, articles that I've written, etc. And then the rest can kind of go down here. But you want to put the things that are most valuable up at the top. Now, number of connections is huge because right here, if you're under 500 connections, people can see the number of connections. But if you have 7,000 connections, all it shows up is 500 plus. And generally, if you want to be seen as an authority, you want to get this up to 500 plus. I have a lot more than 500, but it's one of these things where if you're not there, one of the things you want to do is start connecting to people, ask people for connections so that they can increase the size of your network. So, but given enough time, I don't think getting 500 should be too much of an issue. Let's see. We talked about the ebooks, and again, those can be things where right here I put an attachment. Basically, it's a private thing on here, but you can take the same type of thing, create an ebook, make it public, and offer it to somebody. Now, we talked about Facebook groups, how like Facebook, if you're going to be publishing, it basically they send it to 2% of the people on Facebook, but if you create a group, then everybody sees it. Well, the same thing happens with groups on LinkedIn. There's a ton of opportunities for, groups. So if we go into here, we click on groups, it'll give you suggestions for different groups or groups that you're already in. But one of the cool things on here, it'll talk about most active groups. These are the people that you generally want to be posting things toward. So when you're posting in groups, it's great, but the one thing that there's kind of an undercurrent, there's unwritten rules as far as selling on there. So it's awesome if you want to provide value, but if you're overtly selling on here, they're not going to like it, and they're probably going to kick you out of the group, so don't do that. But on here, it's an opportunity for you to be looked at as a thought leader, and that's what people are looking at. So in this case, do you agree that skills and not degrees are more important in the job market? And this is an opportunity for you to start a conversation and for people to look at you as the expert. When they look at you as the expert, they're more likely to want to do business with you. And again, if you post something in a group, everybody reads it. But at the same time, you can actually start your own group. So on here, if you click on, you can discover the groups, or you can click on My Groups, and this is just a group name that I made up. I guess there's 2 pending members. I got to take care of that. But basically, you can start the group. You can basically start a group for yourself and be seen as the founder. And again, that is something that typically builds a tremendous amount of value and authority in the marketplace. So again, LinkedIn, don't expect quick responses when you post stuff to LinkedIn, but it can be targeted. And if you have a long game on LinkedIn and you know who your target is, then it's a tremendously effective long game. Whereas Twitter is now. It's ADD now. LinkedIn is the marathon. This is the 10-yard dash. This is the ultra marathon. Now, we'll talk about this. I'm going to get away from the kind of the screens we're on. So I guess we'll just kind of leave a background here. All right, we'll leave that on here. So let's talk about video for a minute. So video, it can be one of the most daunting areas for most people. Typically for video, we'll probably visit some websites in a sec too. You want to be cognizant of a few different things, and we're going to cover these in order. You want to be cognizant of the setting, the camera, the audio, where you host it, and the tools that you're going to use to get there. And now don't worry, I probably have you all thinking, oh my gosh, I can't do all that. That's crazy. I'm not a videographer. I don't have any equipment. I don't know what I'm doing, Matt. Well, I get that. And I used to be there too. Believe me, I was like the worst person when I started doing video. But the problem was I didn't have anybody to teach me. I didn't have anybody to teach me for the most part. But I learned through trial and error some things not to do and some things to do. I'm going to start with the things not to do. Okay, the first thing not to do is you do not need expensive equipment. You don't. Unless you're running a professional videography service, you do not need that type of equipment. So if you see a camera that's like $2,000, don't buy it. If you see microphones that are like $700, you don't need to buy it. You don't need to have this tremendous studio or anything like that. You can do things super easy. And I'm going to share some of the things that I've done. So first of all, the camera that I use, I actually got as a gift. It was a few $100. And to be honest, it was a really nice camera, but you don't have to use it. I use a Canon Vixia HF-R500. It's a Canon Vixia HFR 500. But realistically, one of the things that I've discovered is you could use your iPhone. I got the camera as a gift, so I was like, all right, great. But you could use your iPhone, and it takes the same video as the other ones do. So the only thing you have to keep in mind is if you have microphones, and we'll get into the audio in a minute, the iPhone actually requires an adapter. You can go on eBay, and because typically the phone adapter, I knew the iPhone 7s don't have them anymore, so those might be a little bit different. You'll have to use something Bluetooth. But for the other iPhones, you're going to have basically an adapter, because the plug that comes in handles audio in and out, whereas the adapter splits that out and allows you to use microphones on that. So, but you can use anything. The key isn't the camera, because the cameras nowadays are incredible and nobody knows the difference. The one thing I'd recommend, though, is if you're going to be shooting on your iPhone, do not have it horizontally as in a portrait mode where it's up and down. Have it side to side where it's landscape, because the videos that you all see online and the TV are all landscape. So if you're going to shoot something, shoot it with the phone on its side, not top to bottom. Otherwise, it's going to look like an iPhone picture, and it's going to be really tall, and it's going to be skinny from side to side, and that we don't really want to give that away. But if you shoot it on its side, then you can't tell the difference. Now, the setting's important because it goes into lighting. Now, lighting can be something that can be super complicated, or it can be something that's super easy. I thought it was super complicated. I found out quickly that it really wasn't that difficult. The one thing that you want to keep in mind, though, is wherever you're at, you want to make sure there's lights. The lights in front of you are brighter than the lights behind you. And when the lights behind you, it's called backlighting. And what it basically does is it'll cast a shadow on the front of your face, and it'll make you very hard to see. I literally did a podcast with somebody the other day, a video podcast with somebody, and I just took a lamp and put it in front of me. I literally had my laptop in front of me, and I had a lamp right over the back of my laptop, and the lighting was great. It was just absolutely great, and it did its job. But if you're going to be doing something where you have some place that's dedicated, where it's going to be a static place where you want to do it, and you have a tripod for your iPod, a tripod for your iPhone or camera or whatever, then the key thing is you want to have 3 points of light. And you can get this on eBay super cheap. In fact, let's go. I'm not guaranteeing that what I'm going to find on here is necessarily the best deal that you're going to have, but we're just going to put, I do all my shopping on eBay. All right, so if we do 3-point light, look, you can all this stuff that's crazy, backdrops and lights. You don't necessarily have to do that. This one right here, you can do a 3-point lighting, meaning you're going to have a light in front of you, you're going to have a light to the left diagonal and to the right diagonal. It's $65. This one's $90, and it includes, and I actually have this one, or something very similar to it. But basically, you can look. It's $74 or $63. I think this is the one that I have basically, but it's 3 points. But it's super, super cheap. And even if we went and we looked at, let's say, price plus shipping. Okay, these are going to be the 99 centers. We're not going to look at that. Yeah, it's funny when you go through this, it takes the mystery. When they're shooting shoes, they're literally shooting it in a box, which I just think is really funny. So let's try to find the cheapest one that we can find. Let's scroll down. Here, let's do this. This will probably make it a little bit easier. Let's put 3-point studio lighting and $24. I mean, this realistically, the way these are shaped, the umbrellas, you don't even need 3. You could probably put 2 on there. One's in the front. These two are the side ones, and this one shines at your face. $24. I mean, it's like super, super cheap to do that. You can also get, way more expensive ones, but it really doesn't make sense to do that. The backdrop, you can really use any backdrop. So let's get rid of these three. All right, let's do studio background. All right. So I'll show you, anyway, as we start looking at this, there's a couple things to do. Number one, you can do a white studio. I'll just do studio kit and see what comes up. We'll do most relevant or best match. So you can do things where you get the lighting, and this is like, you have 3 points of light, you have a green screen, a white screen, and a black screen, basically for $63. It's super, super cheap. And what the green screen does, we're going to cover that in a second, is it enables you to choose your own background virtually. And so one of the things that I did, we were actually getting our house painted. And one of the things that I did in my studio is we just had to pick a color for the room. And I just said, okay, well, I'm going to make one of the walls green. And so if I have basically, I can shoot it with a regular background, which I normally do, or I can shoot it with a green screen background and then basically pick a background that I want behind me. And it's the color of the wall. In essence, it really didn't cost me anything because I was getting the house painted anyway. But really, that's all you need. Now, when it comes to microphones, basically if you want, it's up to you how you want to do it. If you want to sit at your laptop, you don't even need a camera or any of that. You can just basically do what I'm doing. I'm doing a screencast, but you can do it where it shoots it out of your laptop, and that's just fine. Again, production value doesn't really matter as much. In fact, one of my mentors, he said the one thing that he's learned, the biggest lesson he's learned in business is that if you ever hear the words, wouldn't it be cool if, he said, the words that follow are going to bankrupt you. So if you want to use your laptop and do it, that's fine too. I have friends of mine that have very successful businesses to do that. That way you can use the microphone in port and just have your, basically the microphone cord and have the earbuds in, and that works too. Or what you can do, there's two different ways you can do microphones if you want. You can do what's called a lavalier microphone, which basically it's a clip, right? It's a little clip that goes on your shirt or blouse or jacket or whatever, and it has a transmitter and it plugs into your phone. In this case, look, this one's $29. It's like super, super cheap for this setup. Or you can sit here and spend $115 for one, which is really stupid. This one actually is $12. So again, they're super easy. The other one that I like right now, just because I don't have to worry about clipping it in or anything, is what I call a shotgun microphone. And they call it a shotgun microphone because it basically looks, it's a one-directional microphone. It will only pick up something that's directly in front of it. And this one's great because you don't need to have, you could have 6 people in the room, you could have 1 person, you could have 2 people. It really doesn't matter. And you can have it set up. And in this case, you can get one for $25. It's like super, super cheap, and it's awesome. And it makes you sound so good. Or you can spend $250. So it's up to you. I mean, these Rode ones are really nice, but you don't necessarily have to use those. The differences are really, really minute. Now, when you get yours recorded, it's going to come up in either, depending on the platform that you use. And let's go and cover that first. So, no, well, actually, we'll wait on that. So when you do it, it'll be either in a .mov format or an MP4 or something like that. Well, those ones are huge. And just to give you an example, I'm going to walk you through, I think it was on this one. Okay, so I'm going to take you through. So this one right here, if we look right here, I did this on the screencast, a different one, and it was 5.34 gigabytes. Well, when I exported it to my hard drive, and this is not the one that I would upload, but when I export to the hard drive, it got it down to 1.12. But I'm going to introduce you to an application that I absolutely love, and it's called Handbrake. Not sure why, but basically what this does is it converts your file into something that's web optimized. It has 5G support, and basically it'll make sure it's mobily optimized. But one of the awesome things about it is it also takes it down from 1.12 gigabytes to 543 megabytes. It will save you a lot of hard drive space, but secondarily, it will also make it upload faster, and it'll guarantee that it's mobily optimized. Now, typically what you want to do is you can pick any type of hosting. You can use Vimeo, which is Vimeo, but you have to pay for this. And again, if it's free, it's for me. So Vimeo is great, but it actually costs money. So I'm just probably not going to really want to do that. So you can use Amazon S3, which is, again, a hosting service that Amazon uses, but it costs money. Or you can use good old YouTube. And when you go to YouTube, you basically just click on this upload button. Decide if you want everybody to be able to see it, to not be able to see it, to be only viewed by certain people, and you can select who is able to see it, or you can actually schedule them now, which is actually really cool. This is actually brand new. I haven't even used that one yet. And when you do that, it's going to immediately, when it uploads, it's going to give you a link that you basically can include anywhere. So you can publish and do with what you will. You can embed it on a website, and we'll cover that. We actually covered a little bit, some secrets about that, how you can take off the modest branding, which is basically the little YouTube and say the watermark on there, how you can make it autoplay, how you can make sure there's no ads at the end. There's a whole lot of things that you can structure on that. But again, these are all things that are absolutely free. And when you do that, it just makes things super easy. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show you some examples of some videos that I shot. So I'm going to show you, and I think the really bad one is at the end. So, and again, sometimes I've uploaded these and I like them better, so I re-record them. But the old ones are still on here. So I'm going to give you some examples of things that have worked really well and some things not so much. So again, I'm not perfect. I used to suck at this. All right, so the first one that I did, I shot this literally outside my front door. The lighting was terrible. It was dark. It was one-sided light. I think I had a sunburn. Who knows? This one I shot in this one room, but the lighting was bad. The screen was way too bright. You couldn't really read anything on here. The same thing here. I shot this outside, and the lighting, look how bad. This is what backlighting is. You have all the bright lights behind me, and then it just makes your face look dark. And these were pretty terrible. This one is the lighting where you have one side of the light, not the other. So whatever videos that you're going to do, there's the backlighting again. You can't suck any worse than I did. And you're going through my private YouTube catalog. So whereas you look some other things, I got things figured out. I decided to do a background in my living room. And I got the lighting a little bit better figured out, but it still wasn't exactly where I wanted it to be. Here's one that I did outside where I figured out, okay, I'm going to get front lighting, and I have a palm tree behind me, so that's actually a little bit better. And then I was playing around with the green screen. So a lot of these I didn't necessarily use long term, but the idea that you can take basically me and just substitute everything around here. This is what people on TV do all the time, and you probably never even notice it. So just playing around with different green screens that I had. So it was me just giving a presentation. This is an example of the white background, right? It's just a simple white background, and I think honestly less is more, and it works really, really well. This is one basically with the city behind me, which is really awesome. And, you start to get these figured out, and it works just generally better. This is one in what I call my brick room. And believe it or not, it's a green screen. So, nobody would know any different. But the idea is when you do a green screen, you have to pick a high resolution image behind you. If not, it's going to sabotage you. So don't pick some small one that you like. It better be big and really, really high, have some high definition to it. But here's some examples of friends of mine that basically do it. They shot it in their studio. They shot it outside. I mean, these people shot their video outside an apartment building. So you can really do things however you want to do them. Yeah, this is, all done. All these stuff right here is done on a green screen. Again, here's a webinar that I was doing that I wanted to put like as if it was, one of those Hollywood, things where people are taking pictures. I created this background. And so all this is done on a green screen. This one actually here, I picked as a motion background. Let me open this up here. This one I picked as a motion background just to make things look even better. If you notice the flag, let me shut that off. The flag's moving, so it just adds tremendous, it definitely looks a lot better. So those are some things to do. And again, these are things that I did on a budget. I think I probably spent less than $100 total. And as far as the platforms that I use, you can use a number of things. On a Mac, I use Final Cut Pro, but you can use iMovie. I mean, literally, it's exactly the same thing. And you can basically, one of the great things is, even if there's some noise or static or wind, there's things on there to actually remove those out. One of the cool things on here is when you go into Final Cut Pro, and it takes a while to load up, so I'll leave it there, but you can actually create different room dynamics. So you can pick a large room, a small room, you can echo. You can play with the audio and make it do pretty much anything that you want it to do. If you're on Windows, you can use Windows Movie Maker. I'm on a Mac, so I'm not 100% up to date on all the Windows, but they basically all work the same way. So, realistically, you can use a microphone, you can not. It just depends on your setting. If you're going to shoot it outside, just make sure there's not a lot of crosswind. If you shoot it inside, you can get a cheap microphone for $25. And if you need lighting, you can get that for $25. And realistically, I don't pay for anything more than that. And so for a total of $50, you can come across looking like an absolute rock star. So those are some things to do, some lessons that I've learned. The key thing that I said about not paying for anything, it's not because I'm stingy or anything, because I'll pay for it if it's worth it. But if I know that I can do it the same thing for nothing, I mean, why would you spend that money when you don't have to? I'd rather have my money being spent on my family or being spent to better myself so I can learn more things about other things or go on a trip or, whatever I want to do. But the last thing I'm going to be doing is spending, $50 a month on a hosting service. That's dumb. Or spending $500 on a microphone, which I just don't get. I mean, maybe if I had a professional videography service, then, I would do it a little bit differently. But you don't really need to do that, and nobody's going to be able to tell the difference anyway. So that is social media and video that sell, particularly video that makes you look like a rock star. So I appreciate any comments. Shoot me an email at matt@thenegotiatorsplaybook.com. Visit my website, thenegotiatorsplaybook.com, and follow me on Facebook. So I'll talk to you soon.